Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to extract hidden credentials from binary files. Binaries often contain hard-coded credentials, API keys, internal URL paths that can be exploited by attackers. And this is usually because developers hard-code them in development and forget to remove them before pushing to production. This is actually a very critical vulnerability that we find in many applications. And to demonstrate this concept today, I'm going to be making use of a command line utility known as strings. Strings is a utility that extracts and displays all human readable text from a file. Strings usually comes pre-installed with Kali, so you don't have to install strings on Kali. So to show this demonstration today, I'm going to be targeting this data sync service.exe file, which you can see highlighted above. And I'm going to assume, okay, I was testing a particular service or system or application, and I came across this file, data sync service. So, it's really no harm. It's really a low hanging fruit when pen testing and playing CTFs to just check, these binaries or any file using strings, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. So, assuming I found this file, and I want to see if there's any interesting text encoded or embedded in it, I can simply switch to my terminal, switch to the directory where I have this file, and you can see here datasync.exe, datasync service.exe. So using strings, I can simply say strings, and you can see we have a lot of gibberish. By default, string actually displays the minimum of four characters. And we can simply go through the output and see what we can find. We can see we have libSSL being used, stric copy, string copy. We also have Linux GNU. So we kind of already have an idea of what, services the system is using. So we can scroll down further and here we can find Postgres SQL, app user, dev pass. So this definitely looks like a credential, you know, we found here just by using strings. And it's actually giving us a full internal URL path that can be useful later in pen testing. So this is a very good example of how useful strings are. But in this example, you can see that the output is not so much, and it's actually easy to scroll through. In more realistic examples, you may find that a binary file or any file actually has a lot of gibberish. For example, there's a room on TryHackMe, the game, a very simple room, and it actually has some download files you can use for this task. The goal of this room is actually simple, to get the extracted files from the binary. So I've actually downloaded this tax file to my Kali, Tetris. In here you can see it. This is the target file, tetris.exe. So I'm going to switch into that directory. I'm going to clear this, switch into Tetris, ls, and we can see tetris.exe. So I'm going to use the same command strings, tetris.exe. And you can see now we have a lot of gibberish, which is not sustainable to go through one after the other. So at this point, I'm going to show you other flags you can use with the string utility. So I'm going to stop this using Control C, clear terminal. So instead of just going strings direct to Tetris, like I told you, by default, the strings utility actually displays a minimum of 4 characters. Yeah. So we can actually alternate that. We can change that to our desired target. We can use that end flag and specify 6, meaning now strings is actually going to use a minimum of 6 instead of 4 to actually reduce the noise. So we can also just run that and see. And you can see now, even though we still have a lot of gibberish, but it's actually, a lot less than we had before when we used the default. So we can still control C this. Now, now that we know how to use strings, we know how to limit the characters. Another important concept is actually using grep to filter or search, for particular patterns or particular keywords in a whole chunk of text. So, and that's what we're going to do now. So now we go strings, but end Tetris, right? Now we can grep. And because this is actually a TryHackMe room, we all know that, I mean, if you've played TryHackMe CTFs or their rooms, you know that their flags are of a particular pattern, which is THM with curly brackets and whatever string that follows. So we can use that same concept here to actually apply and search for whatever string or flag we are looking for. In this case, we're looking for a flag actually. So we can grab this and use that I to search for this particular pattern, which is THM and with the curly brackets and just hit enter. And there, we actually found the flag. I can read it all. So that's actually the solution to this room. It's a very, very simple room. It takes less than 10 minutes to solve. And yeah, now even though in this example we made use of a try hack me, you know, binary, which is the flag, in real life scenarios too, depending on the situation you find yourself, you can actually search for key things. For example, API keys, you can search for, if you know the service is being run on the application, you can search for sensitive files based on those keys. So grep here is just essential to help you filter out, or narrow down your search to a particular string of characters you're looking for. Because more often than not, you're going to actually have particular keywords you're looking for. So you can just use grep to actually filter that out from the chunk of, noisy text. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please like and subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.